Today, let us transport ourselves to an era when the very soil of India trembled under the might of foreign invaders. When the skies were heavy with the cries of people struggling under oppression. Amidst this darkness, a lion roared from the hills of Sayadri, a warrior, a visionary, a king whose name strikes terror in the hearts of enemies even today. That name is none other than Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, a man who was not born to rule but to inspire. Hi, I am Ashish and welcome to my podcast, Series with Ashish. Shivaji Maharaj was no ordinary king. He was a force of nature, a flame that ignited the spirit of freedom in every heart he touched. Born in 1630, at a time when the Indian subcontinent was gripped by the merciless rule of the Mughals. His birth itself seemed to be the answer to the prayers of millions. But he wasn't born with a throne or a crown. He was born with the fire of revolution in his heart, and that fire would go on to light up the future of an entire nation. From a young age, Shivaji faced hardships that would have crushed the strongest of men, but not him. Raised under the guiding hand of his mother Jijabai, who infused him with the ideals of Hinduism, valor, and righteousness, Shivaji learned to love his land as his own flesh and blood. His mother taught him the Bhagavad Gita, instilling in him the belief that duty, dharma, and justice were the highest pursuits. It was these values that would later make him the greatest defender of the Hindu faith and culture. Imagine a young Shivaji, barely in his teenage, standing on the hills, gazing down at the sprawling lands that were under the cruel hands of foreign powers. While others saw defeat, Shivaji saw hope. While others feared, Shivaji believed. With a handful of loyal soldiers, he set out on an impossible mission to free the Maratha homeland and restore Swaraj, self-rule. With nothing but an unbreakable will and unmatched military genius, Shivaji began capturing one fort after another. Torna, Kondana, and Rajgarh became the foundation of his dream of freedom. His army was not the largest, but under his leadership, it became invincible. He perfected the art of warfare, striking terror in the hearts of his enemies, who could never anticipate where the next blow would come from. His courage in battle was legendary. At Pratapgarh, he stood alone, face to face with the fearsome Afzal Khan, and with a swift strike of his Bagnak, the weapon which resembled the tiger claws, he brought down a giant, marking a turning point in the Maratha history. Shivaji's victories were not just military triumphs. They were victories for every Indian who dreamt of freedom. But what truly sets him apart was not just his sword, but his soul. Even after defeating powerful enemies, Shivaji Maharaj treated his prisoners with dignity and respect. He upheld the Hindu ideals and values of dharma. Never once did he allow the atrocities that plagued his people to be reflected in his conduct. He was not just a warrior, he was a protector of the weak, a beacon of justice, and a symbol of honor. But Shivaji's greatness did not stop at warfare. He was a brilliant administrator, a visionary king who built an empire that stood on the pillars of justice, equality, and prosperity. He abolished unjust taxes, ensured that women were treated with respect in his kingdom, and built a navy so formidable that even the foreign powers trembled at the sight of his fleet. The Maratha Navy under Shivaji controlled the western coast, making him one of the few Indian rulers who understood the importance of sea power. making him a visionary ahead of his time. Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj was also the protector of Hinduism during a time when the faith faced relentless persecution. He rebuilt temples that were destroyed by invaders, patronized scholars, and stood as a guardian of India's cultural and spiritual heritage. His Rajyabhishek or coronation in 1674 was not just the crowning of a king, but a declaration to the world that Hindu rule had returned to the land of Bharat. Shivaji Maharaj was more than just a sum of his victories. He was a dreamer who believed in the impossible, a king who never abandoned his people, and a warrior whose courage inspired legends. Even after 400 years, his name echoes through the annals of history, inspiring millions to rise, to fight for justice, and to believe in the power of freedom. As we remember Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj today, let us not just see him as a historical figure, but as a symbol of resistance, resilience, and righteousness. Let his life remind us that no matter how powerful the opposition, how great the odds, there is no force greater than the will of a free soul. Shivaji Maharaj stood as the shield of his people, the sword of justice, and the heart of an unbreakable empire. I call upon all of you to carry forward the legacy of Shivaji Maharaj in your hearts. Let his courage inspire you, let his vision guide you, and let his life remind you that even in the darkest of times, the light of success will always rise. And when you say his name, say it with pride, for we are the children of the great Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, the lion of the Marathas, the protector of Hindu Swaraj. Har Har Mahadev. This was it for today's episode. Meet you next time with another interesting narrative.